A common phrase you'll hear in the Souls community regarding the first game is the second half downfall, which obviously refers to the second half of the game being bad. But is it really as bad as people say it is? No, it isn't. And I would go as far to say that the second half is better than the first. Let me explain. Back in 2016, I decided to dig through my brother's video game collection to find something new to play, and what I found was a game called Dark Souls. Looking at the cover, I saw a cool looking knight with an intriguing title, so of course I played it. I beat the Asylum demon and thought, this game is cool as hell. The combat is fun, the enemies look sick, and then I went to Firelink Shrine. Now I was not a smart kid, especially when I was only 9 to 10 years old playing this game, so I had no idea how to get to the Undead Burg, meaning my only two options were to go to the Catacombs, which had skeletons that would never die, as well as an annoying layout and overall tough time, or the New Londo Ruins, which had scary ghosts that couldn't be killed. So of course, I chose option 3. Quit the game, claim it as my own, and trade it with a friend for the worst racing game I have ever played. First impressions of the Souls series was, let's say, a little frustrating. But thankfully, 4 to 5 years later, I ended up buying an Xbox One and got my hands on Dark Souls 3. My soon-to-be third favorite game of all time. I absolutely loved it and started to wonder why the hell I never played through the first two. I went back and played through both of them and also absolutely loved them as well. Now, after hundreds upon hundreds of hours put in the series and countless playthroughs in all of them, I'm now confident enough to form my own opinions on the series and share them with others. One last thing before we get to the real meat on the bone, throughout the video I'll also be ranking every boss fight in the game as they come up in my playthrough. The criteria is strictly just how much I personally enjoyed the fight and the design of the boss. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So why do I think the first half of the game is worse than the second? Well, to better understand, I'm going to walk you through my perspective, starting with the maps. Sen's Fortress, Catacombs, Depths, the Great Hollow, and Blighttown are the worst areas in this entire game, and for some, the entire series. And what do all these places have in common? They're all early game locations that you need to get through with a few exceptions if you wish to progress the game. Now obviously the Depths and the Great Hollow are both optional areas, however when I play games I like taking my time and exploring every nook and cranny when they become available to me, which means I would take the painful and annoying trek down to the Ash Lake just to have to make my way back up to the top. The Catacombs is an early game area that I doubt anyone actually plays before getting the Lord Vessel, strictly because it is not worth it at all. The entire area is filled with skeletons that can only be killed with a divine weapon. At the end of the Catacombs, after defeating Pinwheel, you get the Rite of Kindling, which lets you further kindle bonfires to gain up to 20 Estus flasks instead of the default 10. A pretty useful ability locked behind an arduous journey. Depths is the area just before Blighttown, and thankfully you can make it completely optional with the Master Key. But if you didn't take it as your starting gift, then you'll have to suffer through the Depths. In my mind, all the Depths is a time sink. In my casual playthroughs, there's never anything I need from here, so I just don't bother going through it. Usually if the boss fight at the end of an optional area is worth it, I'll suck it up and deal with it, but the Gaping Dragon is just not a good boss fight. There is a merchant here that sells some cool stuff, but he will move to Firelink Shrine just before Sen's Fortress anyway. Speaking of, Sen's Fortress is my second worst area in the game. I'm here to play an action RPG with incredible gameplay and difficulty, not Wipeout. I don't want to be running from boulders like Indiana Jones or dodging swinging axes. This area just becomes something that I sprint my way through, ignoring all enemies just so I can get it over with. And finally, Blighttown. Poison, fall damage, thin walkways, and an annoying layout. The worst area in the entire game and possibly the entire series. I will never play this game without the Master Key solely because I don't want to go through this stupid area. To bring the mood of this video up a bit, I will say that the Undead Parish is a fantastic starting area. It has a good layout, some challenging enemies that can give you pretty incredible gear, and some alright boss fights as well. And getting through the Great Hollow for the first time and seeing Ash Lake is a really cool experience. By far one of my favorite areas in the series, just because of how cool it looks. But that's enough about the maps. Let's move on to the boss fights. The Asylum Demon is the tutorial boss of the game, and it shows. Very simple moveset and easy to take out. However, if you kill the Asylum Demon before going to get your Estus, you can actually get your hands on a pretty cool missile weapon, the Demon's Great Hammer. Which something unique to this game is being able to get cool and missable weapons from boss fights. It's an awesome mechanic that adds another layer of replayability since some of the weapons you're not guaranteed to get. But at the end of the day, it's a really easy boss that isn't the most fun to fight. Next up is the Taurus Demon, which is another non-offensive boss. It's really easy, has a simple moveset, and has another unique weapon, the Demon Great Axe, but again, not the best. I'd consider it on the same level as Asylum Demon. The Bell Gargoyles are the first roadblock of the game, being a pretty tough fight. Unless you shot this dragon's tail a million times to get the Drake Sword, then it's a pretty easy fight. The Gargoyles moveset alone isn't challenging, however when facing the two of them at once, it quickly becomes a very annoying fight. You'll have one Gargoyle charging at you while the other one is spraying fire over half the arena so you can't dodge. It's just not that fun in my mind. Moonlight Butterfly, Capra Demon, and Gaping Dragon are all pretty uninteresting boss fights, although Gaping Dragon does have a cool design. Chaos Witch Quelaag is, in my opinion, the first good boss in Dark Souls. The fight is difficult, but not in an annoying way, more so a fun way that makes beating her so satisfying. She has a fairly simple moveset, but if you get caught in attack, it'll deal a decent chunk of damage. The fight is fun, the arena is cool, the lore is decent, and not to mention her design. Needless to say, she's pretty eye-catching. One of the more memorable fights in the game. Pinwheel and Iron Golem are absolutely horrible. Pinwheel has the worst run back to Firelink Shrine if you decide to rest at a bonfire at the end of the catacombs, and he is also the worst fight in the game due to his simplicity and overall boring fight. He is so unenjoyable, in fact, that barely anyone will actually fight Pinwheel before Enter Londo, since you'll be going down there again to fight a much better boss. Iron Golem is a gimmick fight where you have to attack his ankles and knock him off a cliff, or fight him normally in a very long and boring fight. Stray Demon is just the Asylum Demon with a slightly different moveset, but again, not a bad fight. Crossbead Priscilla is actually a pretty cool boss fight. She's fairly easy to beat, however she has a unique ability to go completely invisible to sneak up on you and get some cheeky hits. But if you look at the ground, you can track her footsteps to get a leg up in the fight. Overall, it's a very cool fight. Now for the final boss I would consider to be in the first half of the game, that being Ornstein and Smough. And unfortunately, this is where I think I'm going to start losing people. Every single person that talks about this game will always praise this fight for being the best in the game and even the best duo fight in the entire series. And I completely disagree. Ornstein is designed to be the fast-moving, always-in-your-face enemy, while Smough is the slow-attacking big guy that deals big damage. However, they are both really fast, which just turns this fight into a constant 2-on-1 rather than a 1-on-1 with a backup guy slowly making his way to you. During the fight, you are constantly put in unfair situations where both of them will be attacking you at once, leaving little to no room to dodge. Which isn't the point, having little to no room to dodge? Yes, but only when it's reasonable, and this isn't reasonable. I don't want to have to constantly be running around the arena, waiting for an opportunity to get a few hits in, just to have to run around the arena again. I like engaging gameplay, not a marathon simulator. Now for the claim that Ornstein and Smough is the best duo boss, or at least one of the best. And for this, I would like to direct you towards Demon Prince and Lothric and Lorien. The Demon Prince, or Demon from Below and Demon in Pain, is a very good example of a duo boss done right. One demon will be aggressive to you while the other will keep a distance using telegraphed ranged attacks, that most of the time are easy to dodge, however, if not careful, will catch you off guard and deal chip damage. And throughout the fight, they will alternate positions, and sometimes both will be aggro for a few seconds, which is better than the whole fight. And similar to ONS, after you beat them, there will be a second phase with a supercharged version of the boss taking the power from the other, making it an incredible fight that is also pretty difficult. So not only is the duo aspect actually fair, it's also really fun. Now Lothric and Lorien, which I would also consider a duo boss. Phase 1, you're only fighting Lorien, which is a hyper-aggressive enemy constantly teleporting around the arena, keeping pressure on you. Once you enter Phase 2, Lothric joins the fight and hops on Lorien's back, attacking you with ranged magic every now and then. The timings to dodge these attacks are a little different, but not by much. But if you get caught off guard, it'll be a good chunk of damage. Another incredible duo boss fight that is actually fun and fair. Hopefully you can at least understand why I don't like this boss, even if you don't agree with me. And to make it clear, this is one of the main reasons why I think the second half is better. To finish off the first half of this game, I would like to bring up the Lord Vessel. The Lord Vessel is obtained after beating ONS, meaning it is only accessible in the second half of the game. What does it do? Oh, nothing really, just gives you the ability to fast travel in a game where you'll likely be backtracking lots throughout your playthrough. I cannot stress just how much this improves the game. Instead of being forced to walk from the bottom of the catacombs all the way back to the Firelink Shrine, you can just sit at a bonfire and teleport back, saving you so much time that would have been spent backtracking. Even Metroidvanias, which involve a lot of backtracking, gives you a fast travel mechanic fairly early in the game to save you some time. Imagine having to go from the bottom of Deep Nest all the way back to Dirtmouth because you got enough Geo to buy an upgrade, to then have to make a journey all the way to where you were to progress the game. It would be so painfully boring. And this is the biggest reason why the second half of the game is better in my opinion. Fast travel is the most important thing in this game to me, and not having it at the start makes me not want to play this game. I like fighting the ceaseless discharge after Quail Egg for some easy souls, but if I make a mistake and decide not to rest at the bonfire, then I will have to walk from Firelink Shrine all the way back down, or, on the other hand, be forced to walk back up from her arena all the way to Firelink Shrine. It's not fun. So why is the second half better? Well, to explain it, I'm going to start with the locations first again. New Londo Ruins, Duke's Archives, Lost Izalith, Tomb of the Giants, and the Kiln of the First Flame are all the new locations available after Anor Londo. New Londo Ruins is filled with ghost enemies that you can only attack using a specific item or when you're cursed. This is a very dumb mechanic, and the first half of this area, which is accessible pre-Anor Londo, is not fun at all. Especially the Ghost Room. However, the second part leading up to the boss has some cool enemies, including the Dark Wraiths, which has one of the coolest armor sets in the game. Duke's Archives is neither a good area nor a bad area, it's more so just there. When I think about having to go through there to fight Seath, I'm not excited, but I'm not upset. The enemies are fairly easy to beat, and the layout isn't that bad. Crystal Caves, on the other hand, are very annoying. The invisible pathways are not a fun mechanic, especially when you get a notification on your phone, look down, and end up running off the side and have to go through it all again. Lost Izalith is bad, plain and simple. The floor is covered in lava, and the enemies are dense, but thankfully, they are very easy to run past. So easy that I don't think I have ever actually died in this area of the game. But again, it's not fun. The Kiln of the First Flame is the final area of the game with a few Silver Knights and the final boss. It's not bad at all, but it's just fine. Tomb of the Giants is another horrible area of the game, filled with the most annoying enemies in the game, and also pitch black because yeah, that's what I want my video games, to not see anything. Oh, what's that? There are no torches in Dark Souls. Isn't that just incredible? I guess I'll go look for the Skull Lantern in the dark. Although the first half objectively has worse areas, the places introduced in the second half are mostly bad, so 1 point for pre-Anor Londo. Now for the good stuff, the boss fights. And I will not be including the DLC since it's in its own category. Great Grey Wolf Sith is accessible in the first half of the game, however it is meant for the second, and in my opinion you should always fight it after the DLC for the special cutscene. Sif is by far my most favorite boss in this game, and that's because of Sif's lore and design. First off, if you decide to play through the DLC before fighting Sif, you can save her in the Abyss and fight Manus with her, which results in her remembering you before you fight her, which makes it so much sadder to have to kill her. And second of all, I love dogs, and Sif is the biggest, cutest dog of all. And finally, Sif is one of the few bosses in the series that gets visibly weaker near the end of the fight by limping and fumbling attacks, which is so sad that I actually feel bad about killing her to get the Abyss Ring. The Four Kings are another really cool boss fight, and is also another example of a gank boss done right. In this fight, you will have to fight up to 7 kings, however, that's highly unlikely. But anyway, you will fight 1 king at a time, but if you don't kill that king fast enough, then another will spawn, making it a 2-on-1, then a 3-on-1, and so on. Essentially, this boss is a DPS check. If you can't dish out enough damage, then you're probably not going to win. But if you can, then this is a really easy fight. Either way, it's fun, and the arena is one of my favorites in the entire series. The Bed of Chaos is not the worst boss in the game. It's the 3rd worst. I would genuinely consider both Iron Golem and Capra Demon as worse fights. The Bed of Chaos is not that hard, and it is also not a platforming boss. The path between the left and right side are not complicated whatsoever, and the attacks can easily be dodged. That being said, this still absolutely sucks, and it should not be in the game. It's not fun, it's not cool, and if I could, I would remove it from the game. Seath the Scaleless is good. Not great, just good. The fight isn't that hard, and the moveset is very telegraphed, but this boss has a really cool missable weapon, that being the Moonlight Greatsword, which alone makes me like this boss. The Moonlight Greatsword is a pretty cool weapon, and one of my personal favorites across the series due to its design and heavy moveset. Without the sword, I would probably still consider this boss good, but the sword definitely makes it better. Gravelord Nito is a very cool boss. His design is incredible, and the fight itself is pretty fun as well. Well, except for the skeletons in the arena, but by staying in the one spot just as you enter, they won't really become a problem. So overall, a pretty good boss. Gwendolyn is not fun. The entire fight is you running down a long hallway, getting a few hits in every now and then, not fun. Oh, I almost forgot to talk about the Centipede Demon and Demon Fire Sage. The Demon Fire Sage is a reskin of the Stray Demon, so again, it's not bad, but not good. And the Centipede Demon is an annoying boss you have to fight in a tiny arena because of all the lava that surrounds you. It's an annoying fight that I never look forward to playing, especially since Bed of Chaos is next. And finally, Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. If you didn't know, there are actually 2 different fights against Gwyn. A really easy fight where you parry all his attacks and win, or the really difficult fight where you don't parry him and deal with his hyper-aggressive, unrelenting attacks that are sure to kill you over and over again. Either way, I think the fight is really fun. Parrying him to death is satisfying, although a little underwhelming. And fighting him normally is a really fun challenge, albeit extremely difficult. Overall, I would easily consider the boss fights in the second half to be way better than the first. Yes, Bed of Chaos is bad, but so is Pinwheel, Capra Demon, Iron Golem, and Ceaseless Discharge. With the score being 1-2, it would appear that the second half of the game is better. At least in my mind it is. I could give more points to both sides for smaller things, but the end result would be the same. But you know what's better than both the first and second half of the game? That's right, the DLC. It's no surprise that the DLC is the best part of the game. After all, it does have the top 2 bosses in the game, as well as new areas that are actually not painful to travel through. The overall layout of each area is not difficult to understand, and the enemies within at times can be annoying, however, they're not that bad. Also, within the DLC is my personal favorite armor set in the entire series, and all you have to do is murder this man to get it. Perfect. But onto the real reason why the DLC is so good. Artorias and Manus. Artorias was one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn who would eventually arrive in the town of Ulasil, which was being corrupted by the Abyss. Artorias would attempt to fight Manus, the father of the Abyss, but would ultimately fail and use his remaining power to protect Sif from getting corrupted. When we come to fight him, he has fully been taken over by the Abyss. As for the fight itself, it's really good. It's really difficult and so satisfying to finally beat. I actually have a very fond memory back in elementary school. In our library, we had some PC Gamer magazines tucked away in a corner, and one of them I kept going back to and reading through, simply because there was a page dedicated to Artorias. And at the time, I thought he looked so cool. I remember reading a line that mentions how his dominant arm got crushed or something like that, so now he wields his greatsword with his non-dominant hand only. Yet, he's still able to swing that thing around. I just remembered all this while writing the script. Unfortunately, I have no idea which magazine this was in, and I tried finding it online, but I found nothing. But anyway, the point is that Artorias is a really cool character, and without him, the DLC just wouldn't be the same. There's a reason he is the face of the game. Then we have Calamite, a dragon who has an incredible design. I know I've been saying this a lot, but one of my favorite designs in the series, for a dragon anyway. And the whole lead up to this fight is also incredible. You see him flying around, landing on a bridge in front of you, and then finally you get a blind giant to snipe him out of the sky with a great bow, so you can go and fight him on the ground. The build-up is just simply incredible, but then the fight isn't as good as it should have been. He's really easy to beat, especially after playing Midir and all the dragons in Elden Ring, and well, he's a dragon boss, so all his attacks are really easy to learn to dodge. He's an incredible enemy with a disappointing fight. Manus, Father of the Abyss, is both the most difficult fight in the entire game and the best in the entire game. He is incredibly difficult with attacks that seem like they can't be dodged, when in fact they can by either getting good or using the Silver Pendant, which will cast his magic away if used properly. But he also has hyper-aggressive attacks that can easily catch you off guard and deal some serious damage. His arena is really cool, his design is really cool, and the fight is so much fun. Definitely in the top 3 fights in the entire series. And the best part about this is you can fight him with Sif fighting alongside you. And after you beat him, if you go back to Sif, you get the pleasure of viewing a different cutscene. A cutscene where Sif will get close to you, recognize you, and then let out a howl before picking up her sword and fighting. Which, it's pretty cool. These 3 boss fights alone are more than enough for me to know that the DLC is by far the best part of this game. But to bring it back to the main game, I would like to round my whole argument together and tie it in a neat bow. Dark Souls is a good game. From the Undead Burg all the way to the kiln of the First Flame, you are sure to have a good time. Yes, there are certain parts of this game that outshine others, and you may even think that the lows of this game are the highs, which is completely fine. My point in making this video was to give a perspective on the low end of this that is different from what you would typically see elsewhere. Do I think the second half of the game is better? Honestly, yeah, I kinda do. But, do I understand why people think otherwise? Absolutely. At the end of the day, Dark Souls is a video game. And video games are made to be enjoyed, so who really cares what others think about the game? All that matters is what you care about and how you care about it. So, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot if you could like or subscribe. And if you want to leave a comment about what you think about this game, or whether or not you think this is a good video, I will be reading each and every comment. Have a good night.